But let me welcome to the program Congressman Guy Reschenthaler, Pennsylvania Congressman. Congressman, how are you today?
It's good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Always love hearing from you. Where are we right now with regards to, are you in D.C., you in Pennsylvania? Where are you?
So I'm in Pittsburgh right now.
Okay.
I'm in my district.
You're in your district. Yeah. Gotcha. All right. How are things doing? And give us an update.
Sure. So, well, I'm just doing tons of conference calls. I was just with Pittsburgh Business Exchange yesterday. I've got a call with the Small Business Association today. So we're reaching out to constituents in groups in particular. Now, where we are, the Democrats are pushing for this phase 4, which is their wish list of basically the Green New Deal, right? They want to take this crisis and use it as an opportunity to socialize the economy, and we're trying to fight back against this. They're also trying to start a select committee to do an investigation on this, which is going to be impeachment 2.0. They're going to just use it as a way to just bash the president.
Yeah, the phase 4 of this sounds kooky. I was about to play a clip of Nancy Pelosi, who I guess was on with Andrea Mitchell, and she says, she wants things like money for, everything you can imagine under the sun. And Chuck Schumer's talking about green infrastructure, whatever that means.
Right.
We're getting really scared here that we're going to wind up bankrupting our country over this.
Well, what we should focus on is making sure that the next time we have the pandemic, because it's going to happen again, the next time we have it, the pharmaceuticals are made in the United States. We have stockpiles of critical equipment. And instead of focusing on that, the Democrats want to build windmills in Ohio.
What does a windmill in Ohio do for us in the middle of a pandemic?
Yeah, exactly. Well, they just want to have this Green New Deal extravaganza, right? So they're totally using this as an opportunity to ram through socialist legislation. Now, they also want to do like the $15 minimum wage across the country. I could go through. I've got a list in front of me, but they want to have emission standards, for example, for airplanes that would just crush the airline industry.
Really?
Yeah, it would have a phase. You would phase the emission standards in until 2025, but the airlines say there's no way they can hit those emission standards. It would just cripple. It would just cripple our airline industry.
And they're already hurting desperately. So we would do that. That would just be the final death knell in the coffin for them, I guess.
Oh, right. Because as they're trying to rebound from this at the end of it, but then they're going to have to turn around and hit these emission standards that are going to make them, it's not going to be profitable.
But that's the goal, right? Isn't getting rid of air travel part of the goal of the Green New Deal?
Yes, and they'll say that it is not, but why is Greta Thunberg taking yachts back to Europe? It's because they don't believe in air travel, right? So they might say that they don't, but they do. They don't want to have airplanes. They want everything to be wind and solar, and it's fantasy land.
Now, let me ask you, Congressman, you are, of course, a very smart guy. When you were sitting there at the State of the Union address and the president was warning about the coronavirus, and you watched the Speaker of the House shuffling her papers, getting ready to tear up the speech. If the president had stood up at that speech that night and said, listen, this virus is going to be really bad. I'm ordering a complete grounding of air travel, and I'm shutting down the borders effective midnight tonight. How do you think that would have went over?
Yeah, the Democrats would have attacked him in a number of ways. One, they would have said he was xenophobic, and we know this because when he shut down travel from China, the Democrats said he was racist and xenophobic. We also can anticipate that they would say this was a distraction from impeachment. So instead of focusing on Corona, instead of following it, the Democrats were busy with the political charade that was impeachment. And we have to remember, Nancy Pelosi ripped up that speech right after Trump warned about Corona. So to say that they have a revisionary history saying they were taking this seriously is complete nonsense. Look, President Trump was taking actions on this, and he was being told that his actions were reactionary and xenophobic.
I just, this virus is spreading very quickly, and I think a lot of people were surprised by how quickly it spread because China lied to us about all the data. So we're all kind of caught off guard by this. It's very easy to go back and play Monday morning quarterback. the country was not ready. The only thing we could have really done to stop the virus from coming here would have been a complete and total shutdown. Nobody was thinking about that back then. Nobody. I mean, you had Democrats like Pelosi going out there and saying, come to Chinatown for the Lunar New Year party. Nobody would have been on board with shutting down our country in January or February to stop a virus from coming to our shores. I mean, the idea that Trump should have done something sooner is absolutely laughable.
Well, he was caught in a bad situation because had he shut down, had we done the dramatic social distancing that we're doing now, or we shut down people coming back into the United States or coming to the United States, they would have said he destroyed the economy. And again, they would have launched these accusations that he's xenophobic. However, because he did not do that or delayed it, now he's being blamed for not doing enough. And the far left media, the news outlets that are saying that we should have had this social distancing, et cetera, I could pull back a Vox, and that's Vox with a V, a Vox media hit where they said that this is nothing more than a bad flu. Now they're running pieces saying that it's much more deadlier than the flu, which of course it is. But they were going the opposite direction. We also should point fingers where we know there is actual blame, and that's China. China knew that this virus was transmitted person to person. They were saying that is not correct. They let everyone leave Wuhan that wanted to leave during the Chinese New Year, which, of course, then spread the Chinese virus all over China. And then they didn't restrict travel out of China. So then we see it spread to Iran and Italy and now into Spain and the rest of Europe. They also put pressure on the World Health Organization to minimize China's missteps with the coronavirus as well. So while the left wants to blame President Trump, the world should be blaming China for mishandling this from the very start.
Congressman Guy Reschenthaler is with me. Guy is a frequent guest of the show, and he's one of the sharpest minds out there, represents Pennsylvania in the House, 14th District. Did I get that right?
Yes, right outside Pittsburgh.
Nailed it. Good. All right. And Guy is under 40, by the way. Actually under 35, right?
36.
Oh, you meant 30. Oh, you're an old man now.
Yeah.
Grandpa.
I've got a bad case of the mid 30s.
Yeah, well, our heart breaks for you, buddy. I'm telling you. Well, how do we hold China accountable? Because what you said is exactly right. China lied to the world. What they did here was, in my opinion, tantamount to a war crime. The way they covered this up, and now I read something yesterday that basically almost 3 out of 4 of us in the world are under some form of quarantine right now in 90 countries around the world because of China. How do we hold them accountable?
There's a lot of different ways. I'm looking at a way where we can minimize their role in the World Health Organization. The United States and Great Britain pay really the lion's share of the World Health Organization, yet the Western voice, especially that of the United States and Great Britain and Australia, is minimized. And China uses the World Health Organization as basically a political platform. So one thing we can do, we can look at that. 2, we've got to really look at allowing our supply chain to be dominated by China. Why are our pharmaceuticals being made in China? Why are so much of the critical supplies we need to make masks and ventilators? Why is that tied to China? So we need to reevaluate our trade with China and just say, is it a good idea to have an adversary, if not an enemy, in control of these supply chains and our pharmaceuticals?
Yeah, and as part of that, we got to get the economy up and moving again. We can't wait on this. We need to immediately start figuring out how we're going to get the economy open as soon as possible. I look at that as a critical piece of that. But are there any other ideas that are being floated around, and how soon? Because this virus is obviously not going to go away anytime soon. We know that. It may even come back in the fall. We can't go on like this forever. So what can we do to save our economy before it's too late?
Well, so we got to understand we were going to take an economic hit regardless. It was just the difference of having mass deaths like you had in Iran, where you can literally see mass graves from space, or if we were going to take the approach that we did, where we had the social distancing and then took the hit from the economy. But I can tell you that if you want to get the economy humming again, you can do a transportation and infrastructure package that's actually designed a transportation infrastructure. There's not an excuse to ram through the Green New Deal provisions. We could do that. But we can also reduce regulation and we can reduce taxation. I'm a firm believer that the best way to increase economic growth is to reduce both taxation and regulation. What we shouldn't do is we shouldn't put these restrictions on the airline industry. We shouldn't have cap and trade which is what the Democrats were calling for in phase 3. They now want to push it in phase 4. We can't do that. We've got to let the American economy get back to normal and grow.
Yeah, well said. Congressman Guy Reschenthaler, always appreciate your time, my friend. Keep us posted. Stay safe, and you're always welcome on this show. We'll talk to you again soon.